Happy Valentine's month, everybody. I'm the Sliders Review, and I'm here today to share with you some of my favorite Valentine's Day episodes from TV shows or even movies. Not everything is all lovey-dovey. Sometimes Valentine's Days deal with heartache and everything. So, some episodes will be romantic and lovey-dovey, while others will be very sad and heart-wrenching and stuff. But love is love. It doesn't always come with smiles and giggles and glee. So, I'm here today to talk to you about Sabrina Goes to Rome, the 1998 comedy romantic movie. This is a Sabrina Teenage Witch movie feature. It is the second one, and it is my all-time favorite. I love this movie so much. It is a beautiful written, directed, acted movie. But here's the problem with this movie. Now, okay, so this movie was had a bigger budget, and they went to Rome, real Rome. My God, Rome is gorgeous. It's beautiful. It's rustic. It's wow. You know what I'm saying? If there was any place you wanted to ever visit in the world, Rome needs to be on your number one list, or your top 5, top 10, something like that. And so but here's the thing that's really weird about this movie. There are some weird continuity issues with the TV show. I'll get into a few later, but first let me just say this. This came out in 1998, and it came out during the beginning of season 3, because season 3 started in September, and this movie came out in October. So it was filmed sometime around the end of second season. And Sabrina has short hair in this movie. Now, I can't remember because it's been so long since I watched the show, but I'm pretty sure Sabrina was dating Harvey by season 2 and 3. But yet, in this movie, she is completely single and messing around with another dude. And so that's a huge continuity mistake. Not only that, but she has her magic book, which she always has in the show. I think she already knows the family secret, which I think happened at the end of season 3, but yet I think now she knows it now. And she's sent on a quest, right? And so another continuity mistake is the discovery of witches, because here's the thing. Mortals are not supposed to know about witches, and you're not supposed to marry them. That's what happened to Sabrina's dad. He married a mortal woman, and they had to separate. And Sabrina could never see her mom no more, or something like that, and her dad went off and did his own thing. But now in this continuity, if you tell a mortal you're a witch, and they reveal your secret to somebody else, then you're giving out of 12 or 24 hours to turn them into stone, or you'll be stripped of your magic and banished from the witches' realm and living on Earth. So that never happened to that of Sabrina's dad and mom. I'm guessing Sabrina's mom just never told. So that's why she was able not to turn into stone, this and that. But, when you're supposed to turn them into stone in case they do blab somebody. Another problem is we get introduced to another aunt of Sabrina named Sophia. And, we've met so many of Sabrina's family members in the show. And we met a couple of her aunts. We met, her dad and stuff like that. But there's never no mention of a Sophia. And even in the show, not the show, but the movie, in the very beginning, they had to correct that mistake, talking about, oh, I never knew he had another sister, and stuff like that. And not only that, but there's another continuity mistake. There are two people in this thing that are mortal and they know about witches, and yet they've never been turned into stone. And they've never been punished and stuff. Because mortals are not supposed to know. The only reason why Harvey knew is because Sabrina did so much magic on him that she can no longer erase his memory. And so yeah, there's a couple of continuity mistakes here and there. See, my theory is this doesn't necessarily take place in the universe of a TV show. It's its own separate entity. Why I say that? Because there are three Sabrina movies, in case you didn't know that. There is the original Sabrina, I think it's called Sabrina, a Teenage Witch, I think. And that was kind of like a backdoor pilot movie that will later lead into the show. Now, the first movie is more serious. It has a little bit of humor. It's not as wacky humor as the TV show was, but it's more like a movie. And in that one, they have the same aunts, but they're played by different people in the first movie. And Salem is voiced by a different person, and it's an actual real cat. And there's another bully in that movie that's not Libby, and Jenny is in that movie but named a different character. Remember Jenny from season 1? And so that movie was directed by this guy whose name I can't even begin to pronounce. And he directed the second movie. And the second movie has that same feel of the first movie. It's more serious. There's light humor, and so I'm thinking, okay, so this must be in the same continuity of the movie franchise. And so with the movies, the second and the third movie, the aunts never appear. In fact, the aunts are never even mentioned in the second movie. They're mentioned in the book that followed this because they had like a subplot where they were spying on Harvey and stuff like that, and another girl, but that's about it. And so, but then they added the element of the show by getting the puppet of Salem and the voice actor from the show. So it's one of those type of things, you know. And the movie also introduces like new characters in the second and the third. And the second one is, like I said before, my all-time favorite. It was very beautiful written. Everybody did a great job acting. It just has a beautiful quality to it. That's why I keep saying the word beautiful all the time. And then they came out and it had a huge budget too. The CGI was better. They still did magic, but they didn't do as like much wacky magic as they do like in the show. So they kept the CGI budget down so they can like really polish it and make it look good and realistic. And of course, you know, since filming in Rome, that can't be cheap. And also those outfits they gave Melissa, whew, those were some nice expensive outfits and stuff. And so, but by the third movie, it's not so much my favorite. It's in Australia. Now, I like Australia, but it's in Australia and it deals with mermaids. I don't like mermaids. I don't like mermaids at all. And so, like, it's your traditional mermaid story of like, oh, they meet a merman and he wants to be human, so they give him legs. And then there's a female mermaid who's jealous and pissed, and she gets captured. And there's people who's looking for the mer people and want to capture them, and Sabrina has to save the day. And so that's basically it. And there's a really probably impressive CGI scene at that time, but looks completely crappy now, of Sabrina turning herself into a fish and swimming around the ocean, and looks like coming out like a really cheap Pixar video game looking thing. And so the aunts don't appear in that, and Salem's there again. And of course, Gwen, who appeared in the second movie. Now, here's the thing. In the second movie, the one where she goes to Rome, she meets another witch named Gwen. Gwen is the comedic relief of the entire movie. Kind of like how the aunts would be, like Aunt Hilda and stuff, right? And so, like I said before, it's real comedy humor. It's not the wacky sitcom of Sabrina, Teenage Witch type humor that they had in the show, you know? So that element's gone. But there is a tiny bit of wackiness, just so you know, be like, hey, remember the show and everything. But Gwen was like this young witch, another teenager, but she was British. And she was played by Tara Strong. But Tara Strong is not British. But she did an amazing British accent to the point where I really thought she was British. And I didn't know who Tara Strong was at that time. I had heard her voice, but I didn't know her name because she had went by a different last name by when she was doing first voice acting in the beginning. And then she got married and changed her last name. Also, I didn't know it was her because she looks completely different. She has like brown hair. She has more of a scruffy type look and everything. And that British accent just like completely threw me off and stuff. And she had like these little puffy cheeks back then and everything. And these like, and so I didn't recognize her at first because now she looks like completely different and everything. And so like, she is the comedic relief, and her magic has like a green aura of bubbles, kind of like bubbles. It's okay. You know how Sabrina has those little, um, kind of like sprinkle looking magic type stuff. It looks like fireworks trails. It's like that, but it's more green. And so, but she is really bad at magic. Every spell she does, she screws up. And so it makes for some really good comedic relief. And she was in the third movie as well. And she has never appeared in a TV show that I know of. Which is kind of odd, because you know she was such. You would think they would cast her, because her and Melissa are best friends in real life, you know, and so that was just kind of like weird. And so, but she's in the third movie. Somebody else is in the third movie, the actress who plays Valerie, but she plays a mermaid, and there's no connection. Sabrina's now like, hey, you look like my best friend and stuff. And around that time, that's when Valerie got written off the show and stuff. And so this movie, like I said before, is a love movie, but it's also, she's on a magical quest. See, her father gave her his sister Sophia locket and told her that she only has a certain amount of time, no, 2 weeks before all the magic is gone off the locket. And so Sabrina has to figure out what's the big deal with this locket and what's the deal with this Sophia aunt she's never heard about and stuff like that. So it sends her to Rome, because that's where Sophia lived, and when Sophia just like, you know, left and everything. And so when she's there, she's in like a bed and breakfast thing. And the bed and breakfast thing is owned by, oh, I'm going to butcher this, Ms. Galdano. And she is played by Evelyn Furtak. And so she's a woman who has a son named Alberto. And Alberto is played by Eric Alexander. No, I think, yes, maybe, yes. Yes. And so they are from like, you know, Rome and everything. And so they take them in. And so when Sabrina is there, she finds out that Salem has snuck on board, snuck in her bag and everything. So it makes for great comedic relief. He has those great one-liners and stuff. And so she meets Gwen, and Gwen has like a jelly bean fetish and everything in the early beginning. She's always eating like jelly bean candies. And Sabrina's all like, you're gonna rot in your teeth. And she's like, that's okay, I'm British. I gotta say, man, Tara Strong should do more live acting. She was great in this movie. She was so hilarious and stuff. And so like Sabrina, she goes like in the bathroom, but she has the hiccups, and that causes her magic to act kind of crazy. So every time she hiccups, something will float in the air. So there's this cool like scene where she does like all this action comedy of trying to like sit on stuff and put her hand on things, or foot on stuff, trying to like level it down. And so Gwen comes out trying to like spook her, you know, to get the hiccups out, and then she sees all that, and then Sabrina's like, crap. she's like, you're a witch. Like, nah. She's like, you're a witch. And then so Gwen gets scared and she tries to freeze Sabrina, but then she causes water to come down because she's sucks at her magic. So this is how they both find out they're witches because they didn't know. So then when they talk to like the lady who owns the place, she's like, "Oh yes, your aunts didn't, or your family didn't tell you that I take in like young witches and everything when they come to Rome, so they got a place to stay and hide their magic and stuff." And I'm thinking to myself, that doesn't fit the continuity of the show because mortals aren't supposed to know about witches and stuff. And if they do, they get turned into stuff. Like that's just the rules and everything. And so she informed Sabrina that her aunt Sophia, who she knew, well, didn't know because Sophia lived back in like the 1500s, something like that, probably 1400s. And somehow she heard the story of how Sophia just like vanished and everything. And so like so they have to go on like, this like mystery and stuff. And so her and what is it? Her and Alberto and Gwen, they're like around the city and they're shopping and having fun. It's a great montage. It's great 90s music. It's I think it's Jennifer, I forget her last name, but she sings that song Crush. Um Jennifer something. I forget. Like, oh, I forget her name. And it's like there's a lot of like 90s music, so it brings you back, you know what I'm saying? And so they shop and everything, and they're having a great time, and they're doing a montage around like the city. You get to see all this cool stuff, and so she bumps into like a guy as she's at the wishing well and stuff, and that guy is Paul, and he's played by Eddie Mills. And so she's kind of like smitten by him, liking him, and stuff like that. And then he has a friend named Travis, and Travis is played by James Fields. Fun note, James and Melissa actually dated for 5 years. They had to have been awkward when she had to kiss on like his co-star and stuff. Now, James has actually appeared in Sabrina in a couple of episodes, probably about six, seven, probably a little bit more. But he's always playing a different person. He plays three different people, but he's never playing Travis. So, but I don't remember him from the show. I have to like rewatch it one day. Oh, by the way, this DVD. Okay, so this movie is out on DVD, right? But it's not on a separate DVD. Like I remember, I hounded this movie for years trying to find it, and it's not on a standalone DVD. It's actually incorporated in the final seventh season of Sabrina. It's at the last disc. Now, the last season of Sabrina, that is hard to find. You can't find it on eBay, not even a used copy. It is at Walmart, and I think it's about like 11 bucks or something like that. Amazon's a little bit different. You got the couple of people who want to charge you like shipping and stuff like that. But then if you buy the complete series on DVD for like $30, it's $30 right now. It's on sale. Then it comes with the last season and with the movie. The only problem is the bundle binding of the complete series is atrocious. You can literally scratch your DVDs on that. It's like it has like four binders and they connect, and it has like two different slots on both sides, and they connect three discs all in one like slot, and you can scratch them up like that. So I recommend just getting probably like the thing at Walmart, just the season alone. Now, the third movie is standalone DVD for some bizarre reason, and it's the least favorite out of all of them. Now, the first one, that is tricky. That is very tricky because they don't sell that no more. So the vultures have it for like over $100 online. So yeah, but I was able to find it on streaming one time, around Halloween time last year. It was on the Roku channel app. I don't know where it is now, but you can just look for it on streaming. So, well, I'm back. So the dude, she meets the dude and stuff like that. And so he thinks she's cute and all this other stuff. And so then she goes to a museum because, they're just still like hanging out and stuff. Not Sabrina and the dude, but Sabrina and her people. And well, actually, she's with Gwen now. I forgot what happened to Alberta. So anyway, She's with Gwen in the museum, and the dude decides to follow her because she's cute. And so while they're there in the museum, Gwen made the statue of David come alive. You know, David and Goliath. So he's walking around and everything. But before that happened, Sabrina was playing around. She made herself into a marble statue and everything. So when Gwen saw that, she wanted to do it, but she messes up the spell and makes David turn alive. So he's running around throwing stuff with his slingshot. And so Sabrina had to like fix it and everything. And when they do that, what she doesn't know is that Travis and Paul saw that because they was like they were behind like a corner about to come around, and they overheard and saw that. So then they all like, dude, what is she? So then they come up with an idea of if they record her doing magic, they can sell it to like a tabloid and everything. See, those two are Americans, and they're living in Rome for some bizarre reason that's never really truly, it's never explained why Travis is living there, but it is later explained why Paul is there. I'll get in that later. And so the dudes, when they sell it to the tabloid dude, he's all like, look, fine, I'll give you like 50,000 or something like that for like the video footage. And they need that bad because the apartment they living in, they can barely pay rent, they can barely pay for food, and so they're photographers and everything, so they take pictures of all kind of stuff. So anyway, so he tells Paul like, look man, just like cozy up to her, and when she uses her magic, I'll be there recording. So anyway, while back at the home and in place, you know, that lady tells Sabrina that, you know, your aunt used to live at a certain like area in town and stuff like that. So Sabrina goes there with Gwen on like a motor scooter, and the dudes they follow, and it's a pretty hilarious thing, you know. So they this magic hijinks, this and that, but the dudes are unable to record. See, every time they try to record her, something backlashes happens, and so they're unable to get the footage. And so like and I love the way they use magic in this. It's very subtle. It's not too wacky. The CGI is great, like I said. And so when they go there, they are, well, Gwen and Salem are scared to go in because it's an abandoned place. So when they go in, it's very old. It's cobwebs, that dust everywhere. And Sabrina gets the idea, okay, maybe if I use the dust in this building, since it's been abandoned for so many years because nobody's lived there, it will tell me what happened to her back in the past. So she grabs some dust, she does her magic spell, she spins around in slow motion camera style, and it's beautiful when you see the magic comes out her hand, and it's like reverting everything. I think it's reverting everything back to the way it used to be, I think. And so then it's a portrait there, and it's Sophia, and she's talking to Sabrina and everything. So then the portrait disappears and everything goes back to normal. So she's kind of like, okay, Sophia want me to find like, you know, this portrait. So when she like goes back to that place at some point, she so the dude, he's because she told the dude where she lives at. So he shows up every morning on his scooter with like a rose and everything, right? And so they're riding around doing their date thing, and he takes her to a museum that has that portrait in it. And she couldn't believe that Sophia looks exactly like her. And so like she's trying to figure out how can she unlock the locket because it's sealed tight and magic won't do it and stuff for some bizarre reason. There has to be a special way to unlock it to get the magic out. And so anyways, more shenanigans stuff like, you know, happens, and at some point Gwen accidentally turns Alberto into a pigeon. And he flies off, and she can't find him. And so when his mom is looking for him, Sabrina helps her figure out what spell she used, because at first she didn't know he turned into a pigeon. So then Sabrina's like, okay, there's a reversal spell. You have to kiss the pigeon. So she spends the rest of the movie kissing random pigeons. And yes, Tara Strong grabbed every pigeon that's alive and kissed them on like the beak. Ew. Don't they got like diseases and stuff? So as Sabrina's still trying to figure out, how to open it and everything, it's like a montage of her trying to open it, and then her going on these dates with Paul and them kissing, making out, and like, and the rose that he gives her every morning, like it gets bigger and bigger to where she has a bouquet now and everything. Oh, I forgot to mention something. Salem gets to have a little buddy in this movie. His name is Mr. Headstone, I think. No, Stonehenge or something like that. He's a little guinea pig, and he's voiced by Richard Steven Horwitz, the dude who was the original voice of Alpha 5 from Power Rangers. But he doesn't even sound like Alpha. He like changes his voice, and he is Gwen's guinea pig and everything. So I'm assuming he must have did something really bad and got turned into like, an animal, just like Salem did when he tried to take over the world as a witch and stuff like that. So anyway, so with Gwen kissing her pigeons and Sabrina, doing the thing with her dude and trying to open the locket, she has an idea. Her and Gwen go back to the museum in the morning, and she's gonna go inside, like, the portrait, because at some point in time, doing all this montage stuff, Sabrina was playing around with her magic, and she went inside a regular portrait, and Gwen wanted to try that, but she grabbed the apple and couldn't pull it out, and so her and Sabrina had to like go in, and so Gwen took a bite of the portrait apple, and then had to come out and stuff. It's so funny. So anyway, so Salem's all like, look, if you go in, you gotta come out the same way, and somebody could see you. That's why they're supposed to be like lookout and stuff. But why didn't she just go at night when nobody's there? See, that don't make no sense. But anyway, so she goes inside the portrait, and when she does, she's automatically transformed into the clothes people be wearing back in like the 1400s and stuff. She's wearing a beautiful gown, and so she's going there, and she's spying, and she's seeing everything that's going on. There's a party going on back in those days, and so she sees Sophia, who looks just like her, wearing a completely different dress, and so, um. And when she goes into the portrait, her locket disappeared for some reason. And now it's back on Sophia, in the past and stuff. So anyway. Oh, by the way, the portrait of Sophia is frowning. But when you go back into the past, she's smiling and everything. So anyway, she's spying and she's spying. And so then she, I guess, like talks to her like aunt and everything. And she wants to know, hey, why you look like me? And she's like, oh, I'm from the future and everything. So they bond, and it's a little wacky moment from like the show type thing. So anyway, she tells Sabrina that she's in love with a mortal named Roberto, but her parents want her to marry this witch, and she doesn't want to and everything. And so like she told Roberto that she's a witch and all this other stuff. And so at some point in time, they get separated, and Sabrina meets Roberto, and she's like, look, I can explain. He's all like, you're not my Sophia, I can tell, and everything. So then at some point in time, Roberto's talking to his mortal friend, and so he's talking about, those strange things I see Sophia doing, like floating in the air and talking to animals and this and that, and disappearing and reappearing. I think she's a witch, and I'm going to tell everybody. And he's all like, you can't do that. He's like, okay, look, fine. She is a witch, but she's a good witch. And then in comes Sophia and Sophia's like witch fiance dude. And he's like, ha, see, I told you, you can't trust these mortals. Now you got to turn them into stone or be banished. And then so Sabrina comes in, altering like the past a little bit and telling them that, your witch fiance set you up. He hired this mortal man to like rat you out and everything, and to make Roberto like spill the beans. And so then this upsets Sophia, so she's all like, look, you can have my magic, but you won't have my heart, or something like that. And so she teleports inside the locket. She is the magic that's inside the locket and everything. And so it falls, and the witch dude picks it up and keeps it. So then he tells the guards to like kill like Roberto and Sabrina. So Roberto, he leaves to like flee and everything, and Sabrina, she has to fight all these dudes off, these soldiers with a sword. So it's a nice sword battle and everything. So that was really cool. But then she realizes, hey, this dress is too poofy. I can't maneuver. So then she transforms herself into like a fencing outfit from back in like the olden days. And she's doing like flips and she's fighting with swords. And it's just awesome. So then she gets back to the portrait. And the witch dudes are like, if she uses that finger, cut it off and everything. So then she just like uses her magic to make the portrait fall on top of her, and then she's back into our world and stuff. It's a really cool like scene. And so Sabrina explains, what all happened and stuff. And so as like she's talking more with her dude, she realizes why he is living in Rome if he's an American. See, he thought he was Irish, but found out that he's adopted and found out that he has Rome heritage in him. So he moved to Rome in hopes to find his family, but he doesn't know where they're at or how to begin to find them. So he just takes pictures of random people and hoping one day, 'cause that's what he likes to do, and hoping one day he can find his relatives. At some point in time, Sabrina decides she's gonna make his wish come true, and when they're at the wishing well, they turn into sparkly dust, and then they go behind the wishing well, and then they're transported like 20 miles or 20 minutes outside of Rome, and there he meets his entire like family and everything. And it's a big, like, beautiful moment and everything. It's so surreal. And then when it's all over and everything, they go back into, like, the fountain and come out and this and that. And he explains, and she explains, she's a witch and all this other stuff and blah, blah. See, by this time, he is now falling in love with her, which pisses off Travis. And so, but before all this happened, Paul and Travis were talking, right? And Alberto, the pigeon, overheard them. And so when Gwen finally finds Alberto and kisses the pigeon and he turns back human, he explains to them, that they're up to no good and they're going to get Sabrina and stuff. So Salem goes to track her down and they finally find her. Salem attacks Paul and everything. So they explain to Sabrina like what Paul is really up to, him and Travis. She's pissed and she just like leaves. And so Gwen is pissed too, and she's gonna turn him into like a pigeon. But she messes up the spell and turns Alberto into a goat. She kisses him thinking it will turn her back, but it doesn't. So then she goes off like ranting and stuff. And so Travis comes up with the camera talking about, man, we got so much good footage in the fountain, out the fountain, the talking cat, and then the whole like man turning into like a goat. And so at this point in time, him and Travis are like not on like really good speaking terms. And he tells him, look, I don't care what you do with, just like leave me alone. So then the next scene that we see Alberto, he's back human because Sabrina turned him back, but off screen, and so he thinks Gwen did it and all this other stuff. In a way, him and her have a nice romantic moment because they like each other and stuff. Don't know how that came about, but they just do. So anyway, Sabrina's putting away her like luggage, and she's sad and depressed because she only has like 12 hours before she can unlock the magic and leaves. And Salem is like begging her to turn Paul into like stone. And because she's gonna have to get rid of her magic and stuff, but she don't want to do it because she's just like sad and she really likes him and stuff. But if she be banished, I don't even think she'll be allowed to live with her aunts and stuff because they're magically bound. And so because Salem literally tells her he'll lose his meal ticket and stuff, and that's Sabrina. And so as she's about to leave, she decides she's gonna go back to the museum to go talk to Sophia in the portrait and tell her how she's sorry, but she's gonna trust her heart, and stuff like that. In comes like Paul, and he gives her like the torn up tape, talking about like he's not gonna go through with it, and he feels sorry and all this other stuff. Then it happens. The locket opens, and we see a ghostly figure of Sophia talking about. And her and Sabrina talking there, and she's all like, you unlock the locket because you followed your heart and not the magic. So all of Sophia's sisters and her brother couldn't do that and stuff. And so, she disappears into like nothingness, and Paul's all like, crap, but what about like Travis and everything? And Sabrina's like, ah, I'll fix him. And with her finger, she starts turning Travis into all these different animals and stuff so that he won't like tell nobody. So then those two say their goodbyes, and she hops in the cab and she leaves. And the last scene we see is that Paul waving at her, and we just see the taxi cab driving out of Rome, and it ends. And it is, like I said before, a beautiful, well put together movie. I'm surprised that Sabrina Down Under, the third one, wasn't as good as this one. Um, and I'm surprised they didn't continue with the movie series. Instead, they continue with the Sabrina the animated series with her sister voicing it for like one season, and then the other season somebody completely else is doing it, and then they took out Salem and stuff. And so then of course her and her mom lost the rights to Sabrina. It went back to the Archie people, and then they made the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. And we all know how that went. But this is a really good movie series, and it's too bad it couldn't continue and everything. Because of course it continued with the TV show being as wacky could be, because that's what people love, until the TV show made the biggest mistake of getting rid of most of like your recurring characters when they were still on ABC, then breaking up Harvey and Sabrina only to go to the WB for when she goes to college, bringing in new characters and taking away all the old ones only to bring back like Harvey and stuff, and then do some weird stuff with the aunts. And I still haven't seen, like, I've only seen Sabrina up to the up to the fifth season. Up to the fifth. But I haven't seen the sixth or the seventh. I just can't do it. Like, I'm trying really hard. But it's just, because it just doesn't seem the same no more without the aunts and this and that. Because then they put Sabrina in, like, a dorm, and they put her, like, in the house her and her friends got. But then they're like, okay, let's put her back in her aunt's house. Now the aunts aren't there. And it's just kind of like, ugh, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, try to track this movie down, because it is really good. You might have to do some soul searching, if you know what I mean, and everything, just to find it and everything. And if you do some soul searching, there's a good possibility you'll probably find it and everything. But anyways, yeah, it's a great movie. There's some things that are kind of like don't make a little sense because, the continuity of the show. But other than that, it's great. It's weird because Sabrina's a teenager, still in high school, and her aunts let her go to Rome by herself. Oh, made no sense and everything. But, Salem snuck around and got to keep an eye on her, and she still goofed up. Now, wasn't that romantic? Or depressing, depending on what kind of video I just talked about. Okay, well, happy Valentine's Day, everybody. And bye.